Okay, welcome to the show, guys. Jeramy Poole here with Real Estate Social. Super duper excited to launch our new web series called Fearless. If I look familiar, if you've watched some of our stuff in the past, you're probably familiar with The Moment, which is an online web series in which we would dig deep into some of the most successful real estate agents, brokers, builders, so on and so forth, people who are crushing it in real estate to figure out what their moment, what caused them to evolve and become better than they already were, to grab the world by their hands and take it by storm. This web series is something I'm super duper excited about because it affects my life. It affects my level of ambition and what I'm able to accomplish. And it's called this thought process of being fearless, not having fear, not like the absence of fear, but the ability to feel the fear and do it anyways and actually use it as rocket fuel. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have a couple of fantastic guests, my good friends, Morell and Zack Lazo. These guys are absolutely fantastic. And it was so important it's so important for me to have these guys on the show as our first guest because they represent it in a way like no other. Ian, what, you're now 34 years old?
35 now.
35. Yeah. I'm 34. Zack, you're what, 43?
I appreciate you saying that, Jeremy. Actually, 39, about to turn the big 4-0 this year. Talk about fear.
Right. That's fantastic. Look, guys, the reason why I love these guys so much is that they're so incredibly accomplished and yet so humble. If you guys were to have lunch with these guys or perhaps you're at a bar having a conversation, you would have no idea. You would have no idea that they have right around 70 agents under them. They run 2 branches under their company, Caliber Real Estate, which is a fantastic brokerage. I just so happen to hang my license with them, and I'm out of their Tacoma office. They have a beautiful office in Bellevue. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. It's amazing. They're also very, very big on the wholesale side. These guys are probably the best in the business when it comes to off-market wholesale real estate deals with over right around 1,000 transactions. Is that correct?
Yeah, between auction and off market, we're roughly right around that 1,000 number right now.
That's ridiculous. I mean, that's really, really impressive.
Thank you.
You two have been in business in the wholesale side, investing in real estate for about 10 years, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yes. And Caliber Real Estate has been in business for 6 years?
Going on our 6th year. Just did our sixth annual holiday party this last year. So, yeah.
That is, I mean, it's so exciting because I have a lot of friends who are brokers who have been in the business for 5 years, who have been in the business and they're doing well, but there's just like them and like one other person. You guys built an empire and, over the last 6 years. And it's really, really exciting to watch and see what you guys are doing. On top of that, you're not just transactional. You're actually building wealth for yourselves and helping your agents and your colleagues build wealth as well. And it's my understanding that Caliber Holdings, which is separate from Caliber Real Estate, the brokerage, has over 70 properties that you guys own.
Yep. I'm going to give a shout out to our third business partner, David Albers.
Yes.
So the 3 of us been friends forever. He met his wife at my bachelor party back when I was young, 24 years old. Wow. Long time ago. I've known Dane since I was 18 years old, and we've been in business for the last 10 years. And Dave, to date, manages all those projects. He's the one who gets that call in the middle of the night. My laundry, it's broken, and he's taking that call. So honestly, hats off to him. We would not be able to do the 70 properties in there. So seriously, applause for David Albers.
That's awesome. And see, once again, that's what I love. The humility and being humble, and then sharing the glory. I mean, number one, it's hard to have partners and to be in business for this long. And you guys actually, like, not only this guys, but we just did a reality series with these guys in which we did 7 episodes of a fantastic show called Caliber Life. If you haven't seen it, and just the camaraderie around the office, the camaraderie amongst the owners, and just seeing how they interact, it was foreign to me because I've been in the space of real estate now since 2009, and some offices can kind of be dog eat dog, and just to kind of see how you guys interact and kind of see how you treat not only your fellow partners but also your employees and agents is just really inspiring. And so
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You got it. All right. So let's kick this thing off. Fearless. Ian, first question for you.
All right.
Is as CEO of Caliber Real Estate, how would you describe your relationship with fear, and how does it affect your choices on a daily basis?
That's a great question. Fear is a very part of my life, and there's different levels of fear. There's the small things about letting someone down or missing a deadline or missing a deal. And that's constantly here. We're putting out fires, and we're always have a certain level of fear that something's going to go wrong or you're going to let someone down. There's larger levels of fear, the kind of the fear that keeps you up at night. And occasionally we run into these scenarios where I'm losing sleep and I'm thinking, and my mind starts going crazy, almost too far to that side. But it really has become the most motivating factor for me. It forces me to take action. I have times where I can't sleep, and I'm thinking about whether it's the smallest thing that my mind takes and runs with or whatever. It forces me to get up, take notes. I don't care if it's 4 a.m. I don't care if it's midnight. I'm going to take action based off of those fears. And it's kind of therapeutic for me. It's helped me to actually, it's the biggest stress reliever in my life right now, is to write it down, to think about it, to plan and take action around it. All of us that have been backed in a corner before, that's usually when you see, the dog come out, and that's when we fight the hardest. It's unfortunate that we can't live in that state every day.
Yes.
But it's healthy. Every once in a while we get backed in the corner and we get to situations that scare the crap out of us. And that is when our performance level is the highest.
Dude, that's absolutely amazing. That's right. I was just watching this video with Dwayne Johnson, and he has a video production, not a video production, but a production media company called $7. And so when he got dropped from the NFL, I believe Warren Moon or something like that, Warren Sapp stole his job per se, and he got kicked off the team. He had $7 in his wallet. So here he is, Dwayne Johnson. He thinks the world of himself. He has his big plans, big expectations. Everyone was expecting him to be this huge, big success in the world of NFL. And he gets cut, and he has $7 in his pocket. And so now he uses that mindset, those horrific emotions he felt every time he's doing a big movie or something huge. He tells himself, I have $7. I don't have the $100 million I actually have. I only have $7. I have to put everything I have into this one event. And that's honestly one of the things that got me thinking that we should really do a segment or a web series called Fearless, because especially those individuals who take on major projects, there's just so much fear there. It's not like fear doesn't exist, but how are you handling it, and how are you using it to propel you? Zach?
So I'm going to take this a little different route. Like I'm with Ian right now. Fear is just a part of your life. It's just, you're going to run into it. There is no absence of fear in life. But the way I look at it is, it's almost as if the fear in and of itself is worse than what you're actually fearing. It's like, just when you're feeling that sense of fear, like, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? And the fear of the anticipation is worse than the actual event itself. And I'm gonna go a little Debbie Downer. Like there's some fears in life that I've had. I remember being a little kid, and I was one of those little kids that had the weight of the world on my shoulders. I remember as a little kid, fearing about my parents' death. They're gonna die, and to be a Debbie Downer a little bit. 24, I lost my dad.
Oh, wow.
He was the rock of the family. He was
I didn't know that. Wow.
My hero, man. Like he was the guy, and he's a lot of who I am today. And and a couple of years ago, I lost my mom, and it was almost like,
wow, I didn't know that either. Wow.
The greatest fears you could ever have in life, once they actually play themselves out, they're part of who you are, man. Yeah. And I look at it as a gift. So when these things happen in life that you fear most, the event itself isn't as bad as the suffering that the anticipation causes. Sure. And the gift of it is it makes you who you are today. It
makes you stronger.
The way that I use it is, gosh, at a young age, I feel like it's like there's very few people that have lost their mom and dad or all that. And so when I talk to somebody who's going through some hard stuff, the gift is empathy, man. Like you've been through it. You can meet people where they're at. You can connect with them, and I view it as this incredible gift. So when I met with fear about something, I lean into it, because it's like, this is this in and of itself, what's going to come of this is going to be a gift, and that's something I can give to others. So that's what drives me is kind of helping build others and grow others. And for me, I look at a lot of the suffering that I've been through as a way to meet others and connect with others. So I think it's a great gift, man. That's the way I view fear. And it's definitely a driving force, man. It's definitely fuel, like you say. It's a fuel, but sometimes people want to kind of like, you see fear, you cower back and like, I'm gonna steer clear of that. Whereas now I'm like, hey, I've been through some stuff. I'm gonna lean toward it. So I look at it, all the stuff I've been through, like I'm gonna meet that fear head on and just go for it. Because what's the worst thing that can happen? That's kind of how I look at it.
Zach, I love that. And you're right. Number one, I feel like 90% of the stuff that we worry about or are fearful for never happen. And the anticipation, the mental suffering that you put yourself through as you're ruminating and playing through all these different scenarios, and all of them are negative, but ultimately we can always choose, right? It's all faith, right? Do you have more faith that the worst thing is going to happen, or do you have more faith that the best thing is going to happen? And ultimately, whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
Exactly. It's like, how productive is the worry? What's the worrying doing for you? Is it doing anything for you?
Right.
I would say no.
And if you sort of, initially were feeling that fear and you're tense and you're afraid and you don't want to do it, and then you sort of shift your mind and decide that you're going to focus on the positive, and then the positive thing happens. For me, it's just a huge confidence booster. It's like, I did that mentally, whether that's the truth or not, right? Like that was a Jedi mind trick that I did on myself. And
I think it does have a lot to do with it as well.
Okay.
Right? If you have the ability to choose positive or negative, like you said, choose positive, and I feel like that will help you get to the direction you want to go by making that choice.
I agree. That's awesome. That's why I had to have you guys on the show first. All right. Zach, this is for you initially, is tell me about a recent situation or problem that you were sincerely afraid of and were actually worried about, and what happened and how you dealt with it, and how did you sort of make that become a successful outcome?
There is one defining moment in our business between Ian, myself, and Dave. There was a project, the worst nightmare project that we've ever encountered in our lives. We can just call it, so Des Moines. It was this Des Moines project.
Okay.
And it was like the perfect storm of everything. So this is, I just want to frame this out for you. This was a 3.5-year saga, day in, day out, that Ian, Dave, and myself were living through.
Are you serious?
Auction, good old auction, man. We were over there, competed auction. It was us and one other person going after this property, and the person who had driven the property, they had their eyes set on this beautiful sound view. I mean, we're right down there by the Salties down there. It's a nice area.
Yeah.
We didn't know what the other person found out while they're on site is that underneath the property was like this muddy mess, and it was like kind of sitting on pudding. There was no solid foundation. But we ended up being the lucky winners of this property. So we were put in this debacle where this is now our property. Yeah. What do we do with it? Within about a month, we started trying to work on the foundation. We got red tagged by the city.
Oh, wow.
We had a tree that fell onto our property. We had the condo association next door that was trying to sue us because we were touching their property back there. Within the time period, we had our builder, filing for bankruptcy. He was just a perfect storm of everything. And this, for the first 2.5 years, we had basically been using all of our profits from all of our other projects to fund this project, right? Wow. I mean, we didn't have any, and it was just kind of feeding this endless vacuum. And I remember specifically there was this one day, and the thing about this project, it was like one of those projects where you're just like, I know that this is going on. I know it's bad, but I'm just going to look that way because I know it's bad. I just don't want to face it, right? And so one day, I remember this specifically. It was in our old office. Ian, Dave, and myself got together, and we wanted to get a really clear picture on where we actually were financially with this project.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those moments where, the breath got sucked out of me, and I was like, we were so much worse of a financial situation than we had realized.
Wow.
With just how many people need to get paid, what the hard money costs were.
Yes.
Really, it wasn't producing anything for us at that time.
Sure.
And I remember thinking for this 24-hour period, it was the first time in my life where I was like, I have no answers.
Wow.
I have no solutions. I have no idea what we're going to do. I remember specifically driving home that night, just all these things swirling around in my mind. I'm thinking, I am so afraid to tell my wife that, like, I don't know if we're going to have to sell our house. I don't know if we're going to have to liquidate all of our assets. Really? I don't know what we're going to do. And like, it was just one of those things where, like, you're going through it, like, thank God we're going through this together. There's three of us. Right. We got on the phone the next day, and it was like, hey, did you get any sleep? No, I didn't get any sleep. Did you get any sleep? None of us had gotten sleep. Yeah. And the three of us got together, and it was almost like we huddled up. We had just been through the worst night of our business lives. We huddled up, and we're like, we faced each other. We're going to take this on. Like, we got a war to fight. And it stopped being this, like, oh crap, the sky's falling, to like, guys, we got a war to fight.
Attack.
We're going to attack.
Offense. Yes.
We're going to go after this. We're going to work as hard as we ever have. And it's like, it was almost like, and thank God, through diversification, we had some rentals. So we came up with a plan. We sold 2 of our rental properties. We were working hard. Like, we're going to flip more properties. Like, honestly, one thing I will say is, like, I feel like stuff kind of fell out of the sky for us a little bit. There's definitely some luck.
Yes.
Whatever you want to call it. Some stuff started lining up the moment that we started going after it. And it was just this amazing lesson for me that it's like, when our backs were against this wall, we fought together, and we overcame the hugest mountain that we've been encountered with. And I'm almost embarrassed to tell you, when we finally got this thing sold, how much we lost. And Ian,
how much?
Yeah, it wasn't really just completing the project, wasn't the end of our battle, our journey, but we had lost $530,000 on the
$530,000.
That was probably about 4 times as large as I was expecting you to say.
About it, Jeremy, is that we bought the damn thing for $208,000 at auction. Wow. So, we ended up building some monster, and like Zack said, the checks continued to come. The day that we put the house on the market, there was a landslide that took out our backyard. So imagine showing your client this $1 million+ listing and finding out that on day one, and this was right after the unfortunate Oso mudslide. So it was very fresh. Mudslides were very kind of a fresh thing happening at the time, and it just screwed us. We sat on the market, and we were just bleeding. The checks kept coming in over and over again. And,
wow.
And I can relate to Zack on that being one of the times where we were truly tested.
Yeah, and one thing, can I add to that? Sorry,
absolutely.
One thing that it's like, you always get tested in these moments, right? Like, everyone can say, like, hey,
right.
Hey, I'm gonna do the right thing, or I'm gonna make this happen. But I feel like I was really proud of us for kind of keeping our ethics and our direction together.
Sure.
There was a point where it's like we're doing the calculations in our head. We're like, oh, there's 300,000 off. There's 4. Oh, we're in a world of just shit. Sorry to.
Yeah. No, you're good.
And it was like, we had these subcontractors who we'd already paid. I mean, we paid the full bid, but somehow it didn't make their way to them.
Sure.
And there was multiple times where it's like these people approach us and say, hey, we didn't get paid.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, well, by us paying them, I mean, that's more money out of our pocket. That's affecting our bottom line.
Right.
And what I was really proud of is in those moments, like, it was people over profits, and it was just do the right thing. It's like, yeah, is it going to hurt us? Yes, it's going to hurt us by paying people, but you know what? They have families to feed. It wouldn't be right to not have them get paid for the work that they did.
Right.
They didn't do anything wrong. And so it's like, while it hurt us, I feel like it really defined who we were as individuals, because we were tested, and I was proud of that. But I really think that's been like our defining moment. If we were to say a defining moment in business, what affected our core values, I feel like that was that time we got tested, and we said, you know what? That's our core values, man. People over profits, do the right thing always, and
that's great.
That's part of who we are.
That's awesome. Hearing that story brings me back to a story in my life that I haven't thought about in years, but was really a monumental place in my life. So I just got out of an apartment. I think I was probably about 20 years old. Just bought my first house. It was a pretty big home with a spiral staircase and a huge deck. Brand new furniture. I'm doing really well for myself at this point at a young age. I told my mom that she no longer had to work. Things are going well. And because at that time I didn't really have any credit, and I didn't really have an understanding of like going and getting loans, And so I brought on a partner to help with the financing, to help with getting larger trucks and newer trucks so I can take on larger accounts. At the time, I had the whole account for Old Cannery and Sumner. I had the state contract for Cost Plus World Market. And just to back up, this is for a moving and transportation and storage company. Things are rolling. And the business partner I brought on was probably about 25 years older than me. And as we started to get rolling, he tried to pull a fast one on me. So I was taking the largest cut because I was the CEO and I was growing the company. And when things started to really get rolling, he was trying to essentially remove me from the company and try to treat me more as an employee and a CEO, and kind of saying, hey, now that we have a real business here, why don't you let the big boys take over? So he started calling all of my accounts, all the accounts I worked really hard to establish, start calling them and telling them that they needed to go through him for all the orders and sending him all the bills because he's paying all the bills. Just all this hoopla. So all night I'm just like freaking out, trying to figure out like how do I handle this situation? Like nobody in my family was a business person, so I couldn't necessarily go to anybody for advice. And so I thought about it. And so I woke up, got out of bed probably about 3 o'clock in the morning, put on my best outfit. And I have all these terrible ideas and stories I'm playing in my mind, like what's about to happen. But I spent all day driving around to as many stores as I possibly could. And every single person told me, don't even worry about it. I have no idea who that guy is. I don't care what the name of your company is. I'm working with you.
That's awesome.
And then my largest account, Stupid Prices. I'm not sure.
I remember that.
Yeah, Stupid Prices. So I had the whole account. I did all their storage and all their delivery for all of their stores. And so the CEO, Bruce, called me, and Stupid Prices was the #1 purchaser of Costco goods in the country. So they're moving a lot of product. Calls me and says, hey, what's going on with your business, man? Like this guy named I can't drop his name. This guy called me and said, that he's basically taking over your position, that you're still part of the company and the company's changing names. So come up here and talk to me. He seemed furious, right? Because he's basically depending on this 20-year-old kid to run the transportation piece of their business. And it's a nice chunk of business. And so I go up there and, I'm thinking he's going to chew me out. I'm thinking he's going to just say, hey, here's the deal. I can't have drama. So I'm going to have to go with these other companies who are national versus you who have, I think we had 6 trucks at the time, but same story. He looked at me and said, I got your back. It doesn't matter what happens. I'm working with you. And so sometimes you allow your mind to sort of play all these games and, like Jeremy, you didn't go to college. Like beyond this, you really don't have any business experience.
You disqualify yourself.
You disqualify yourself.
And it's like you tell yourself this lie in your mind where people don't see it that way, man. That's a great reminder.
Right. So, yeah, as you were telling that story, I was like, that story just came to my mind. Zack, next question for you is right now, right this minute, what's your worst nightmare in business or in your life? And how are you using this to propel you forward with greater intensity and focus to make sure that doesn't come to fruition?
For me, I've always, one of my fears, for me is it's always, I feel like I'm motivated because I don't want to let people down. I like this fear of failing others. And I know that early on in business, I think I allowed that fear to kind of overtake the balance of my life. I became, because I didn't want to let anyone down. I wanted to be everything for everyone, and I wanted to meet everyone else's needs. But almost in doing so, I was kind of like the jack of all trades, the master of none, right? I was by letting that fear kind of guide me and try to meet everyone, I actually ended up failing everyone because I had nothing left to give.
Sure.
So
spread way too thin.
Like you run yourself into the ground and there's nothing else to give. And so one thing, I kind of keep that fear in check a little bit. And I realized, okay, I do have this fear of failing others. But I can't really help others succeed if I am failing myself. And so I was able, through that experience, just kind of like, I was failing my family. I was failing everyone. And it's like, dude, I have a much larger fear of losing my family. You know, if I lost my wife, lost my kids, business takes backseat to all that stuff, right?
Has to, yeah.
And so, and it just kind of a shift happened. And I'm like, okay, this is the moment that I create some margin. I had to be very aware of what was absolutely important for me to do. What was my highest and best use, getting my highest and best use on those things, and delegating the things that didn't absolutely require me. And through freeing up more margin in my life, I was able to actually give a lot more to people, you know? Because I can't, you know, you can't, if you don't have your own flame, you're not going to be able to light other people's path.
That's right.
And so for me, it's like I got this fear of failing others, but it's like I keep it in check to know that hey, if I fail myself, it's like the airplane thing, right? You put your mask on first, and then you put your mask on the kids, right? And so I just became more aware of I got to keep that mask on myself at times and just know when my tank's low. I can't fill up others if my tank's on empty, you know?
You can't give what you don't have.
Absolutely. Yep.
Ian?
Repeat the question for me.
Yeah. What's right now, this minute, what is your worst nightmare in business and in life? And how are you using this fear to propel you forward to make sure that doesn't come to fruition?
You know, I think biggest fear I have is failure. You know, like Zack said, failing people, failing my family, but failing my business. That's really just like the Des Moines property. There's multiple mini Des Moines that occur to caliber to us every year. Things that might not be as big on the radar, but things that make us, you know, roll our sleeves up and panic a little bit.
Right.
And I just want to continue to keep this going, to provide opportunities for our staff out here and to continue loving what we do. We get to come to work and hang out with amazing people and do amazing things. And I feel extremely blessed to be able to call this my job. This is so much fun. And like losing that or that changing is actually, it's a nightmare for me.
Yeah.
And I used to sit in the cube and make sales calls. God, that was the worst when I think about it now. I mean, that is my biggest fear.
Sure.
You know, so really for me, I want to continue to grow this thing. I want this to be successful, and I don't want to have to take a step back, not only for business or life. You know, I have 4 kids right now. There was a time where I had 1 kid. I was on top of the world. I was, 22, making a ton of money. I had the Mercedes and the 4,000 square foot house, and I was so ignorant to the fact that I was untouchable, and money was literally growing on trees at this time, as we're all aware, back when the crash hit. And I got completely knocked on my butt. I took my wife and my 1 child. We moved into a 1,200 square foot apartment. And, you know, I remember thinking like, gosh, I lost everything, short sailed my house. And now I can't, with the 4 kids, I can't go into a 1,200 square foot apartment. Right. And like, I want to make sure that I continue to provide for not only our staff, like I mentioned, but for the family as well. So for me, it's just a fear of failure, I think, and everything is kind of my biggest nightmare, but it's also, again, my biggest driver.
Awesome. I love that. Now, here's kind of a last question I wasn't anticipating asking, but because of the direction of this, I think it's appropriate, is where do you guys see Caliber going? You know, you were saying that your fear is to not go backwards. Well, if your fear isn't to go backwards, where are we going?
You know, I'm glad you asked that, Jeremy. You give me an opportunity to plug the vision. We talk about this often. We talk about our 1-year plan, our 5-year plan. You know, we don't want to be too big that we have to change. You know, being small has its advantages.
Absolutely.
In the fact that we can be nimble and change, and we can actually dictate what the culture is.
Right.
And that's where we want to be. We want to get to a point where we have, you know, a roster. We've had 70 people on our roster for a long time. For years, but what's happened was, you know, our quality is so much higher. We have people that are plugging in, that are attending, and we're not that brokerage that you just hang your license and.
No, you're not.
We're not the cheapest, right? And we know that, but we want people, and I tell them, if you want to go to the cheapest brokerage, then I give them a couple options of other, you know, friends of ours that own brokers.
Sure.
For us, we're looking for those investment-minded brokers, and maybe you're not an investment-minded, but you want to be a part of, you know, the culture, the family, the events. That's who we're looking for. People that are going to show up and work and you know, share experiences. It's very common. You'll see multiple people leaning over a computer to look at a deal together and help analyze with no skin in the game other than just to help a friend out. And that's the kind of environment we want. So maybe we get to a couple of 100 agents at one point.
Yeah.
Our wholesale business is booming. The foreclosure business is booming. And of course, Zach, Dave, and I have ambitions to continue to grow our rental portfolio as well pretty aggressively for the next 5 years. But to be honest with you, I don't want to be some of the larger name brokerages. I think we're at a really good spot where we're at, and we can
absolutely
use more growth, but I don't want to change too much.
That's fantastic. I love hearing that. And I sincerely mean it when I say, when I was looking at becoming an agent, which was not really a long process for me. I started thinking about it, and really the only company that made any sense for me and what I was trying to accomplish, along with just the quality of leadership and clarity of focus on where you're trying to take this company, was always Caliber Real Estate. So I'm excited to be a part of the family. And I did not invite these guys on the show, by the way, because I work for them per se. I just think that they have an incredible story. They've done some incredible things at a very incredible age, and how they're just so poised and humble is rare. So it's good stuff. Zack, last question for you. I know Ian kind of did a awesome job sort of articulating where the company's going, but I'd love to hear it from you as well. Is if things continue to go as well as they're going now, where do you see the company in 5 years from now?
So Ian always does a great job.
Sure.
Ian's like, if you want to get excited about something, you call him Ian Morell. He will get you excited about
That's what he does.
And I'm definitely in line with Ian. It's like, we want it to feel like when we say Caliber family, like you mentioned it already, Caliber family, we mean it, man. We want it to be this big but small feeling family. And one of the most kind of like talked about things within the culture here is it's kind of has that startup atmosphere. And
it does.
One of the things, it's that collaboration, that open sharing. And so part of our vision is we want every branch, and in my mind, that's 3 to 5 key branches in 5 years, 250 agents.
Okay.
Feel absolutely plugged in, that feels their experience within, if they're at the Bellevue office, is going to be the same experience in Tacoma,
right?
Locations that come in key market areas. And a lot of it is just like, if we can keep that startup, that excitement level up for people that are passionate about growing themselves, growing their net worth, that's what we want to accomplish. And we want to, like, the culture for me, like that's my pursuit, is I want to keep that culture intact, because I feel like when people are engaged and it's fun to come to work, it's like everything else is just it's a byproduct. Like if you're doing real estate and you just hate going to that office, or it just feels like crickets, man, or like,
can I
ask you a question? You can feel kind of bad asking somebody a question.
Sure, like, I don't want to bother you. Yeah.
It's like that's not the environment that we're trying to create, because I think we kind of have that abundance mentality, that there's plenty for everyone. So we're going to be the type of company that shares, man. Shares. Awesome. Like, if something worked well, like let's share it, and as a collective, we'll all be successful together.
Awesome. Well, Ian, Zack, thank you so much for being on the show. This is amazing. It's more than I was expecting for our first episode. You guys always kill it as usual. And I'll be seeing you later tonight, I think.
Yeah, man, thanks for joining us. Great concept, man. This is such a great opportunity. I think this is gonna reach a lot of people, man. I think this is awesome that you're doing this, Jeremy.
Thanks, brother. All right, guys. I'll see you in a few.
Bye, man.